Bayonetta has got to be one of the weirdest games I have ever played. It's also the horniest game I've ever played. Developed by Platinum Games, Bayonetta is a Devil May Cry ripoff in just about every way. From the over-the-top cutscenes, to the angels and demons kind of aspect of it, to your rival being a light-haired version of yourself, essentially. It wears its Devil May Cry inspirations on its sleeve. What does differentiate Bayonetta from Devil May Cry is it has guns on her feet and obviously the female protagonist. Something that is a little bit of a redeeming quality for Bayonetta is the combat system. It does take a lot of inspiration from Devil May Cry, it just doesn't get it right as much as Devil May Cry does. The witch time is a pretty cool mechanic where if you dodge right at the last second, time kind of slows down and you're able to go in and wall up the enemies. The combos are not that in depth. It really is pretty straightforward. There's only 2 weapon sets that you can have at one time, so it's a little different from Devil May Cry in that aspect, and I found that to be not as deep or near as engaging as Devil May Cry. Something that does not work with Bayonetta is the cutscenes that aren't the over-the-top ones. They're these static kind of film strips that are intertwined throughout different parts of the story. There's voiceover for them, but their mouths aren't moving. There's little to no motion whatsoever. It's just kind of a screenshot put onto old film, and it just does not work. It feels really out of place for what the game is, and it just doesn't work at all for me. The characters really aren't that engaging. They really don't have crazy motivations. There's no one you can really relate to. Luca may be the only one, but even his kind of story arc is kind of one note, and it doesn't really work. The dealer here can get you different weapons when you find different golden LPs, and even those are Devil May Cry ripoffs. There's not a lot of innovation here. There's not a lot of creativity when it comes to the weapons. The over-the-top nature of the cutscenes can be very creative, and they're kind of cool, but at the same time, they're so few and far between that they don't really have the impact that I think the developers wanted. Another part of the combat is when you dodge and you go into your witch time, it slows it down. But if you dodge twice, you can turn into a panther and you can move way faster, and then you can attack from that panther form and turn back into Bayonetta. This is kind of cool, but I wish they would have mapped it to a different button, because a lot of the times I was going to dodge and multiple attacks were coming my way. I would try and dodge multiple times and turn into the panther, and then all of a sudden I'm moving really fast and I'm not able to set up my combos. It was a weird design choice. After every level, you get a rating, and you're able to play this Angel's Attack minigame where you have a certain number of bullets and you're trying to shoot the heads of the angels or hit the little circle things with wings, and depending on how many points you get, you can buy items. The items range from anywhere from a health boost to a protective shield to raising your attack, and you can use those in combat or just anywhere in a level. The downside to that is it penalizes you at the end of the level, so you might not get as high of a score. Again, totally ripping off Devil May Cry. It wears its influences on its sleeve, and it really doesn't care. It's kind of weird. They didn't really do anything to really differentiate themselves. Getting back to the story, it is nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. I was confused pretty much the entire time. Every story thread that they start to pull on just kind of goes away after a little bit, and then they introduce a whole new aspect. At first, you're Bayonetta, and you wake up after 500 years, and you're trying to regain your memories and find out what happened to you. But throughout the story, it doesn't really seem like Bayonetta cares. She's just like, oh, yeah, I was asleep for 500 years. I don't really have my memories. Oh, I kind of remember you. Okay, cool. And then they have Luca, who is going after you because you presumably killed his father. And so you think the story's going to go that way. Nope. Then it starts talking about a creator. And they don't introduce the creator. They are just kind of throwaway lines from different bosses. And then they introduce Jean, your rival. And you think, okay, there's going to be a climactic battle against Jean. And there is a couple chapters before the end, but really no payoff there. They introduce this little girl who calls you Mummy, so you think she's your daughter, but you've been asleep for 500 years, so how could it be your daughter? And the whole thing with her is she's the key to saving everything. But then you save her, and she has no bearing on the story pretty much whatsoever. So the story just did not work at all for me. It was completely asinine, didn't make any sense, incredibly confusing, and just didn't work. Most of the environments are pretty bland, kind of similar. The enemies are very repetitive, and overall this game just didn't really work for me. The dance scene at the end of this game is absolutely ridiculous and over the top, pretty hilarious, but that's one of the only other redeeming qualities. So, again, it's a 14-year-old game, but it just did not hit for me. Did it hit for you? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.